which it provides help to people waiting for new homes. Now, you mentioned this one. This is for Ramadan. Now, in a month's time, Patrick, he'll be doing the Easter service, a Christian festival, and he'll on the day before Good Friday, he'll be donating the Monday money that comes out every year to 30 odd pensioners. It's not a princely sum. They're not going to be able to pay the winter fuel allowance, or it's not going to cover anything like that. But it is symbolic. Now, he does an awful lot of things. And remember, years and years ago, Charles has always said he didn't want to be defender of the faith. He wanted to be defender of all faith. So it's only right that the king fosters good relationships with a variety of religions.
As well, Charles, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to have you on. Good to see you again, mate. It's been a little while. Charlie Ray there.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. It's time for tomorrow's newspapers tonight. Join us over the next hour to find out the colour of your skin. Does that determine your prison sentence? Should criminals be banned from pubs? And should cousins be banned from marrying? I'm Josh Howie, and tonight I'm joined by Kerry Marks and Paul Cox, who are cousins and may get married, to take you through Thursday's top stories. This is Headliners. But before tomorrow's news, let's go to tonight's headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good evening to you from the newsroom. It's just after 11 o'clock. Leading the news tonight, the Justice Secretary has called for a U-turn on planned changes that would make an offender's background a bigger factor in sentencing. Shabana Mahmood says she's written to the Sentencing Council urging them to scrap the new guidance after the Conservatives accused Labour of creating two-tiered justice. The changes due in April would place more emphasis on pre-sentence reports, particularly for offenders from ethnic or faith minorities, young adults, abuse survivors and pregnant women. Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick, though, has called it anti-white and anti-Christian bias. But Mahmood insists sentencing will remain equal for all. The Sentencing Council, meanwhile, says its reforms aim to ensure consistency and avoid bias in the justice system. Tonight, the UK and Ireland have pledged to work more closely together as their leaders met for a major summit in Liverpool. Sir Keir Starmer and the Irish Premier say their partnership is more important than ever in an uncertain world. The two governments want to reset in relations after tensions over Brexit and legacy laws on Northern Ireland. They'll host business talks on trade, energy and construction before agreeing a new cooperation plan through to 2030. The Trump administration has been holding secret talks with Hamas in Qatar to secure the release of hostages in Gaza. It marks a major shift in US policy, which has long avoided direct engagement with the terrorist group. Sources suggest the talks include efforts to free Edan Alexander, believed to be the last living American hostage. But US officials and the Israeli government haven't commented. Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, is set to return to the Middle East to negotiate the next phase of the Gaza ceasefire deal soon. Police are launching an international appeal to trace more potential victims of serial rapist Zhenhao Zhao, one of the UK's most prolific predators. The Chinese PhD student has been convicted today of attacking 10 women, but officers fear he may have drugged and assaulted more than 50 others in the UK and in China. He targeted young Chinese women, luring them to his flat for drinks or study before drugging them. He also filmed the attacks and kept footage and sometimes his victims' belongings, telling the court they were souvenirs. The 28-year-old was also found guilty of voyeurism, false imprisonment and possessing extreme pornographic images. And the UK is preparing a joint bid to host the 2035 Women's World Cup, with England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland set to submit an expression of interest. The plan follows a FIFA announcement setting the timeline for bids. And Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer says a World Cup on home soil would be a monumental moment, boosting the economy and inspiring future generations. The UK last hosted a women's tournament in 2022 and will co-host the Men's European Championship in 2028. We can expect a decision on the World Cup by 2026. That's it from me for this evening. I'll be back with you very shortly, next week, I think. But now it's time for Headliners.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello, welcome to Headliners. We're going to give you the best of tomorrow's newspapers with the best of today's comedians. First things first, we're going to have a look at the front pages. The Daily Mail, new two-tier justice fiasco. The Guardian, US stops sharing intelligence with Kyiv. Telegraph, Trump turns off Ukraine missiles. So plenty more papers to come in a couple of minutes. First, we're going to get straight into the Daily Mail. Hello, Kerry, Mark.
Hello, Josh. How are you?
Good. More business.
Okay, you are, aren't you? Well, great conversation, Josh. Let's get into it then. Yes, so a new two-tier justice fiasco.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to get to. I didn't want to have, like, how are you and all that. Let's get to the fiasco.
I already know how you are. We spoke just a few minutes ago. So, yeah, these are the new rules that were sent to magistrates on Wednesday, which basically they told judges that criminals from an ethnic minority, cultural minority and or faith minority community should be specifically considered for pre-sentence reports, which means they'll get
favourite minorities.
Well, that's what I was going to say, by the way. I don't think Jews are going to be included. So,
we're an ethnic.
You're never included with the ethnic thing. So we will not be. Otherwise, I'd be out committing crimes right now. But it's not going to happen. So, of course, Robert Jenrick has quite correctly said that this is the two-tier thing we've been hearing about, and it's really not going to do anything to push those two-tier allegations away when you're being that obvious about it. Basically, it's racist and it's patronising. It's going to be, you're accused of murder, how do you plead? Guilty, Your Honour, but I'm a person of colour. Oh, OK, well, then off you go. It's interesting the new guidance is going to come out on the 1st of April, April Fool's Day. So I've got some questions about whether it's all a big joke or not. Maybe it will turn out to be, but probably not. And, of course, this is coming out with loads of other committees. The Public Accounts Committee, we're waiting for the Leveson review to come out soon. And basically, I think what the government are trying to do is saying the prisons are too full, so let's just make it full of white people. That'll reduce the numbers a little bit. Maybe that's the way around it.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Paul, to be fair, the Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, she has said that she is totally against this. It's out of order. She should be writing to them straight away. For me, that's not necessarily the issue. The issue is that this was written down, that someone thought it was a good enough idea to write down, and no one just went, you know what, this is really racist and mental.
Well, of course, if you know anything about government and all this sort of nonsense, someone didn't write this last night and email it, and then it came to the paper today. This would have gone through endless peer reviews.
Yes.
People would have looked at this and gone, this is a good idea, let's keep doing it. Oh, no, that's a good idea, let's keep doing it. And we've got to this point now, to the point where Shabana Mahmood is not aligned with this. So the one person who would have to implement this is immediately just saying, this can't happen. I mean, it's got to be illegal for a start. You can't prejudice people based on the colour of their skin or which God they believe in. Surely you can't. So it should never get to this point. I always look at this stuff. It doesn't matter. This could be Labour, this could be Tories, this could happen under any government. I mean, the fact it keeps happening under Labour is a big question mark.
Well, I mean, this could have, as you say, this could well have been written before. It's an independent group that wrote this.
Absolutely. So the fact that we got people thinking and believing this stuff is more of a worry to me.
Yes. So, as you said, taking it the next step further, how are we going to get these people who believe this ideology out of these institutions? Because they are absolutely embedded. Whether it is Labour, whether it's Tory, we have people who are pushing racism and prejudice and thinking that they're doing it, that they're actually being kind or that they're actually moral. And no one seemingly there in that institution to be able to say, oh, wait a minute, this actually has implications that you might not have considered.
Yeah, I mean, you have to ask yourself, do you believe any of this is malevolent in any way? It's probably not, OK? These tend to be well-meaning people carving themselves a niche, trying to get themselves ahead of the game by saying, look, I mean, just so happens this policy writer's about 3 years behind their time. The only way you can stop this is exposing it for what it is, which is, you know, is racism in its own right. So you have to bring this out and say, look,
you're trying to be anti-racist.
Look at what you're creating,
and you end up being racist. Yeah, and all it really takes is for the government every time to say no.
Yeah, but
which is sort of what's happening.
That's my point. Is I don't think it is enough for the government to say no. I think there needs to be inquiry into who wrote this stupid thing and talk about every single part of the process so that they can understand that the ideology that they're proposing is racist.
Sure, let's say we do that, but let's say they turn out to be a person of colour. Should they get less of a, you know, should be nicer about it? What do you think? Or a different ethnic background?
No fear or favour.
Now, the Sentencing Council has come forward and put out a big statement that basically says this is just advice.
Yeah.
This is just for it's just a suggestion, and that's the thing is judges will use this stuff, and they actually do implement the stuff, as we've seen for all of the immigration
well, we have,
cases
sadly.
and whatnot.
The thing is, we already do in the courts take people's circumstances into account and mental conditions and so on that are relevant to the case. But this is taking something that's not relevant to the case, and as you say, it's just racist and silly, and there's still people who will think this way. They've had a field day for a few years. It's coming back on them, do you know?
Well, it's coming back on them. I just don't.
And it's going to take time.
The same people are still going to be employed. That's my issue.
They will always exist.
No, I don't think it's the ideology that is the problem.
They can always exist. They just shouldn't have any power.
Well, there we go. Good. Right, let's move on to The Guardian then, Paul.
No comedy on The Guardian either, believe it or not.
Well,
I'm sorry, I totally disagree with you. Let's have a look at the front page of The Guardian. You'll see in the top corner there is a picture. It shows how far we've come. Women's boxing powers its way to the Royal Albert Hall. Right? That's The Guardian talking about how, yeah, women's boxing, brilliant. Not talking about the fact that they are sort of pushing an ideology that last summer meant that you had a male, or two males actually, beating up women in the Olympics and winning gold medals for it. They're not mentioning the power of men beating up women then.
No, and there aren't any trans, as far as I can tell, on that front page. But OK, I'll stand corrected on the comedy, Josh, well pointed. But the main headline is US stops sharing intelligence with Kyiv to pile pressure on Zelensky. Now, Trump is very much turning the screw, chaps, isn't he? Everybody saw the conference on Friday. We've all digested it. Some people are still confused, including myself, of what the overall objection from Trump was. My hypothesis is that all he wants to do is drive this to a deal so he can get the minerals, and because he thinks that, I mean, he wants peace, but he wants peace at a price that rewards the states. And if they do get,
does he want peace or does he want surrender?
Well, we'll find out. However, this is, I mean, putting pressure on stopping intelligence, stopping funding. I predict that very quickly we're going to see them back around the table and he'll get what he wants, which is a deal very quickly.
Which is a surrender.
He'll get what he wants. The actual...
Sorry, can I just say, you're going to now talk about the disgusting thing that they've done here.
Well, which one of them?
Well, OK, mention them. Well, I just think it's to stop the intelligence so that now they're basically blind. They can't see what the Russians are doing. They've also said to the UK that we can't push through any intelligence to them. So it's like they've absolutely massively handicapped them. They have probably stockpiles to last a couple of months, but stopping this intelligence is... This
is unquestionably it's the Trump way, isn't it? It's strong-arming, it's putting them in a position where really Zelensky just has to bow and send some grovelling letter and lick his shoes and do everything that he wants. I mean, I thought the whole the Congress speech was incredible to watch anyway. Did you watch it all? It was wild. It was like this Punch and Judy setup that he was in with the audience. Yeah, and on one side everyone's cheering and screaming and going wild. The other side they're all sitting there looking shocked the whole way through. You can see what he's doing on the world stage as well. I think it's very reminiscent of the Yalta conference, you know, of of 1945 of trying to get in with Russia, and what he's planning to do is to isolate China. You know, get Russia on his side. So really, Ukraine is being pushed out of the deal, and what Ukraine is being asked for after all this is they're going to give up territory, and not even territory that Russia has taken, extra territory on top of that.
Yeah.
Plus they're going to pay for it with their minerals, and they get no benefits from this whatsoever. They can't be in NATO. They don't have any powers, whatever. And the guarantee is that they will have Americans working their mining, which of course America could pull out in a moment. So yeah, it's not a good deal, but it's very Trump, and he's rearranging the whole world to his way of thinking.
It's not covered on any of the pages, but the other thing is that Trump has just met with some hostages who were captured by Hamas, and has basically put out a post on social media directly to Hamas saying, let the rest of the hostages go, let the bodies go, or I'm just going to eviscerate you. So I personally am conflicted because I totally disagree with this. Maybe he has some strategy that I can't understand.
Yeah.
But when it comes to dealing with Hamas, I'm like, yeah, that makes total sense over there. That's the strength. That strength is required. Now, that, of course, is, I'm sure, partly my own hypocrisy. But
well, the strategy is exactly the same in both places. It's a strong man,
but they're two different situations.
Absolutely.
Yes, but you're right. But it's the same. It's the same way of going about it.
The strategy is identical. Okay, so it's a strong man strategy. Now, I agree. You know, I think we all, particularly in the West, and if you live in Europe, have some empathy towards all of the Ukrainians and what's gone on in Zelensky. Ultimately, though, the two people that can create the deal and bring about the end of the war, whether it's a surrender or peace, is Putin.
Yeah, but that's the narrative
and Trump
being put forward. I just don't necessarily agree. Yes.
Zelensky has to say that Putin didn't start it.
It's ridiculous.
It's incredible. Look, it's a complete reverse of truth. I thought the whole speech at Congress was fascinating. When there was that 13-year-old boy who was he survived cancer, and he's made him a member of the Secret Service. And for a moment, being Trump, I thought he was going to make him head of the Secret Service. And, you know, I wouldn't have even been surprised.
Also, if I was Trump, I would, after the horrible incidents that have occurred to him and the attempted assassinations, I wouldn't want to make a 13-year-old part of the Secret Service.
Not really, no.
But for self-preservation. Let's move on to the Daily Telegraph, Kerry, please.
Well, OK, then we shall do. Well, we've got more on Trump. Trump turns off Ukraine missiles like there is some kind of tap, and there's more on the two-tier claims of the ethnic minorities. OK, let's go to the doctors. When you go to the doctor, you're more likely to be seen by a woman. They put that like a riddle. I was thinking, I wonder if that's because there's more women. Yes! So there's a logic to that headline there. Yes, women are taking over men as doctors. Well done, women.
Yep, congratulations.
Very sarcastic.
Just me there. No, I meant that. That was very nice of them.
So basically,
there's more female gynecologists.
Medical school, and also more men have been retiring.
Yeah, but you know what? Women love goo. Do you know, I've noticed this for years. Like, if you go into a room and you've got a spot, right, a woman will always want to pop it. They love goo. It's a very odd thing.
Women love goo.
They make perfect doctors. They're goo lovers.
I don't know what women you...
A lot about your ex.
I'm not many women who love the goo.
Women love the goo. They love goo.
I've not seen it.
Women are goo lovers. So they make perfect doctors because of that reason, if nothing else. You know, I just hope that when the wage gap reverses, that they care as much about it then.
Well, that's the thing, is surely, like, Paul, when are we going to see some initiatives to get equality in GPs now and in doctors? There are more women doctors. This is totally unfair. We should have some drives to get men into medicine, right? In fact, there you go. Men into medicine.
You're not getting me sucked into this. I'm all for it. It doesn't bother me whether I see a man or a woman.
No, of course not. But the point is, we've had decades of this sort of, we need the exact parity, so we've achieved it and we've gone over parity. I want parity back.
Yeah, how do you drive men back into... Talk about the goo. We're not talking about the goo enough.
It's the goo. They love goo.
Let's move on to goo. Right, let's have a look at some more front pages. The Eye. Benefit cut set to be bigger than Reeves promised. The Mirror, wills in tribute to NHS heroes as he honours their sacrifice. And the Star, warning, orange ball of fire spotted in the sky. So, Paul, we have the Eye paper here.
Yeah.
Luckily, I mean, are you on benefits?
Oh, I'm not really doing this. As far as the government are concerned, I'm a disabled veteran.
Yeah.
So I am on plenty of benefits. So this is why this is a surprise to me. Benefits cut set to be bigger than Reeves promised as Tuesday rules out new tax hikes. So essentially, Rachel Reeves here is saying a lot's changed since October, and she's not wrong, but she may have had the foresight to have planned for this. I mean, I don't think people that voted for Labour expected them to in any way cut benefits. If anything, they maybe expected some reform and maybe some increase of benefits. I know I didn't vote for Labour. I didn't vote for Labour to have my benefits cut. Josh, I don't know about you, Kerry.
Yes, I did. This is the Labour Party slowly turning into the Tory Party, isn't it? Piece by piece.
What do you mean?
And well, rapidly. And so, OK, she wants to avoid tax hikes, which is a good thing because tax hikes sound like a bad climbing holiday. We've had so much gloom for so long. What they really need is growth, and they're kind of accepting that she's not going to get growth anywhere. So she's got to cut stuff. And
it's
so
also
it's
not help towards growth, I would argue.
Well, yeah, I'd agree with you, but she believes that's her aim because she's saying the word growth every 5 minutes. So
She
there
likes
must be
the word.
something in the plan there.
She said black people before, and now she's going growth.
But what she's also been doing, I mean, obviously we're looking at raising our army now, so frozen Russian assets are being used, and maybe they'll even consider not selling Chagos. That would make a lot of sense right now.
Put Chelsea, basically send Chelsea Football Club.
They're no longer owned by Russians.
Yeah,
they're no longer owned by Russians.
You know, the thing if they're going to do growth at all, it's getting rid of net zero, and I don't think they're properly facing that. They're looking at possibly Miliband will be out, and you know, at the moment you've got China is burning huge amounts of coal in order to make solar panels for us to feel good about ourselves. It's all a bit of a con right now.
Right.
Yep.
We may have got through the front pages, but there's plenty of news goodness coming up. Are criminals going to get banned from pubs? And should you be banned from marrying your cousin, even if she's really fit? See you in a couple of minutes.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Angela, what were the benefits you saw working on Strictly? What actually was this revelation to you that you should do more?
Well, I tell you what it was, mainly. It was because I think I've been dancing since I was 5, one way and another.
Yes. You? Yeah.
And I'm now 80, so 75 years I've been dancing. So I've always known, as have dance teachers all over the country, that dance is actually the best form of exercise you can possibly do, because it's not just good for your body, but it's also great for your mind, for your mental health, for your mind, for your happiness, for your outlook on life. And, of course, you have to use your brain to remember what you're doing, so it's great for all sorts of things. And so I've known that, and dance teachers have known that, but it's always been sort of under the radar when people have thought about how do I get fit. They sort of think automatically about going to a gym or doing a park run,
treadmill,
doing all of that. So when I was doing Strictly, I got wonderful reaction from the public. I mean, I was just overwhelmed with a lot of people saying that I'd inspired them to think about dance. And I thought, how can I put these two things together then? And I was listening to Chris Whitty on radio, he's the Chief Medical Officer for England, saying that because the National Health Service is having such financial difficulties, it would help if we all took more responsibility for our own health by, he said, play football, go to a gym. Why not dance, he said, and I thought, that's what I can do. So because I've been involved with dance for a long time, I got in touch with every one of the dance organisations in the country, the ones who look after ballroom dancing, Latin, ballet, street dance, everything, all of them, and all the ballet companies, all the dance companies, and said, if we can get a national day of dance to get that message across, get dance teachers to open their doors and say, come and see what dance can do for you.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, where Kerry will get the ball rolling with Thursday's Express. And crime doesn't pay. No, actually.
It does. We've covered it.
Yeah, independent now, actually, Paul.
Do it again if you like, Josh.
No.
You love that story. We'll do it again.
Let's go back to that.
I want to go to the next one. Crime doesn't pay, Paul, unless, you know... not sure which is worse in this particular thing. Which is the worst punishment?
So, ban criminals from pubs and sport games instead of sending them to prison, Minister suggests. So this is Sarah Sackman said the bans, as well as mandatory work for offenders, very much in the mix. So this is all part of what's going on with the Leveson review, and there's and he's reviewing the criminal courts and David Gauke's review of sentencing, and they're looking at sort of ways that they can send people to prison. It's very much of a theme at the moment.
Not dealing with the causal factors.
None of the dealing of the causal factors. None of looking back into society or the community and saying what's causing this in the first place. How can we prevent any of this? And you know what? It assumes that all criminals like sport, socialising, and going to the pub. If they don't, then they're getting away scot-free. If you are a criminal and you're thinking, well, I don't really enjoy the pub. I'm not that sociable.
If you're antisocial in the first place, then that's why you committed the crime.
And a lot of criminals are. You know, they keep themselves to themselves.
I think you should go to your sentencing dressed out in a football kit.
Yeah, just got a full kit on. Oh, I was on the way to the pub.
Please don't stop me playing football. This is more akin to, you know, a mum punishing a naughty child, you know. Right, you're not allowed to go out and play table tennis because you're being bad. You're not going to the party. I mean, why don't we just tell criminals that Father Christmas isn't coming for them this year and see if that stops them? You know,
it doesn't really explain how this is going to work.
No. It actually makes lockdown worse than a criminal sentence.
Well, it was.
You know, what we went through was worse than that because we weren't allowed to exercise or do any of these things. And do you know what? There's no deterrence in this anymore.
Well, that is a really good idea you've just had.
What? What was my idea, Josh?
If they don't want to send people to jail, they should go back to, like, the Tier 1...
Just lock them down.
Rules. They've got to wear the mask of shame.
Mask of shame.
Every time they go to the pub or so, you know, they have to fill in an app.
That'll teach them. It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
The mask of shame.
I think the problem is we end up with no deterrence because we're constantly looking at ways of avoiding prison, but actually sending people to prison is a deterrent.
It is for
me.
me.
You take away that deterrent. I don't like the idea.
I don't want to go to prison.
I totally know what would happen to you. But do you know what I think we should be doing is yes, ban exercise, but also overfeed them. You know, just turn people who are criminals into massive... until they can't... They're waddling around trying to steal a bicycle or something. You know? Why has no one listened to me, Josh? Why does no one... Why am I not the government consultant?
Total mystery. Kerry, the Mail next with good news for some Pakistani and Cornish communities.
Sir Keir Starmer signalled Labour would block a Tory MP's bid to introduce a legal ban on first cousins being able to marry in England and Wales, which is something I had very little opinion on until recently, but I've been reading quite a few interesting articles about this, and I don't feel good about cousin marriage. I think it's not just the health issues. I was indifferent, you know. I just thought, it's something that people do. Well, it's been law.
Did you ever see that movie from the...
Yeah, I know the one. Yeah. I can't remember how it ends. Was it good or bad?
No, it ended very well.
There you go then.
I think you would have appreciated the goo.
It's not just the health effects of it. It's the clannishness that it causes into cultures and societies, and also it's a slippery slope where we ban first cousins. You can see already second cousins are getting nervous. Who's going to come round to us? And there was, of course, the MP for Dewsbury and Bailey, Iqbal Mohammed, who said that family intermarriage was very positive, and it builds family bonds. But you know, so does a hug. You know, you don't have to go to those lengths. And I think he's right that it does have, you know, these positive effects for people who've got a pretty first cousin, as you were saying before, but not really anyone.
It's a private member's bill, isn't it, Paul, which has been put through by, the Conservative Shadow Minister, MP for Basildon and...
Richard Holden.
Yep. And... but the government has basically said it's not supporting, because private member bills are tough to get through anyway.
Yeah.
Without any government support, it looks like it might run out of time, or it's just not going to go. It's going to go through. Is he just bringing it up to raise the issue on?
Probably. Probably, but the issue still remains that you shouldn't marry your cousin, particularly your first cousin. There's a whole lot of medical and genetic reasons why you shouldn't do it. I wouldn't want to be the Prime Minister whose only legacy is encouraging first cousin marriage, and that could well at this rate become his legacy.
There are advantages and there are disadvantages. Of course, you know, having your children could there is some serious IQ and other factors. I think you can be disability.
You don't have to bother with dating apps, though. You can just have a little family forum.
Here's a plus. If you've got the same grandparents, on the positive side, that means you've got to buy less birthday presents. Okay. But you're going to get less birthday presents.
Yeah, so it's pros and cons. It's also, you get weird marriages where, you know, you arrive and are you with the bride or the groom? Yes. Sit on both sides.
Maybe that's a good thing then, helps out with the wedding.
Yeah, I suppose so.
If you're marrying a cousin for financial efficiency, then I think you probably ought to have a look around.
OK, out of the frying pan and into the fire in the Times, Paul.
Florida announces criminal investigation into Andrew Tate. So this is Andrew and his brother Tristan Tate have been placed under criminal investigation in Florida. This is just 5 days after they arrived. And, of course, their transit to Florida was kind of smoothed by Donald Trump, who allowed the Romanian...
Smoothed?
Yeah, the Romanian officials managed to drop the sort of travel ban.
Sorry, can I say the sentence here actually says that he helped to smooth the accused sex trafficker's passage? I just want to make this more...
busy. He's doing speeches, he's smoothing passages.
You've got to smooth the passage. I mean, I think first things first is Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan are characters that I don't.
Could you second now?
I don't particularly follow them. I'm not interested in the manosphere. I don't think that it's particularly good to encourage.
I think first and foremost, you should just say the story
over masculinity. But the story is that they've been arrested in Florida. They have been accused of rape in Romania. They've been accused of rape in the UK. They've never been convicted of anything. They deny all charges. And as far as I can tell, they've never committed one crime in the US.
Well, that's it. I don't know what evidence there is. They've been to Florida before.
I don't think they have been arrested. I don't think they've started an investigation into them, which I don't think they've actually been arrested yet.
Done in Florida so far, nothing.
No, but it's just an announcement of it. Surely by now, there's been so much talk about them. You'd think there would be a dossier of evidence enough to open a gallery of, I wonder what they call it, a gallery of Tate. OK, that's all I had on it, really. But I don't even know why. Surely, if Romania had anything on them, they wouldn't let them go. And do we know for sure that Trump
have stuff on them? They've got a whole trial they're building against them, and basically Trump's.
Do we know that?
Yes.
Is that definite?
Trump, yes. Especially
they're saying that here, but that's
Trump. Rick Grenell pressured the Romanian government to lift travel restrictions. It's insane because they're supposedly big fans of Trump. It's ridiculous. Now here, Andrew Tate's saying that this is all it's all political persecution. This
because there's beef.
Because he says they know if I endorse somebody, I have power, I have monumental political weight. So now I see why Trump likes him. It's ridiculous.
Yes, I was with that.
OK, good. Right, we're at the halfway point with plenty more gas in the tank. Why can't you take a photo of a Muslim woman without her hijab? And what is Black Lives Matter Plaza going to be renamed and why? This is Headliners, only on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Could Doctor Who be for the chop after more than 60 years? Well, here to explain why there's a lot of rumour, a buzz about this story is the GB News entertainment editor, Alex Davies. Alex, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
What on earth is going on?
Well, this has all sort of come around because reports have emerged that the lead actor, Ncuti Gatwa, is planning on leaving. He's only been there for 2 years, but apparently he's already eyeing up the exit door. He wants to reportedly set up a new life in LA. He's got countless Hollywood opportunities lined up for him, according to reports. And the reports are also suggesting his team aren't too fond of some of the woke storylines that have emerged in the last few years. The series has come under fire a number of times. There's been several storylines that have been criticised for pushing certain narratives. They cast a black actor as Isaac Newton, for one. There are other examples, including misgendering aliens.
Do aliens have gender?
Well, you'd be surprised, apparently. There's one called a meep that David Tennant, who briefly reprised his role before Ncuti, he got the meep, their gender, wrong and was pulled up about it by a trans character.
It's just very forced, it seems. Very forced. Oh, we need to get in the gender nouns and the pronouns. But there was also a bit of heat just for having a female doctor, wasn't there? Jodie Whittaker.
There was, but I feel like that's always going to get heat. When you take a fictional character, a fictional institution, which has been white men predominantly, and you put something that goes against that, you're going to get attention. This one in particular, like I say, with these sort of storylines, has garnered more attention than most.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. Let's kick things off with Thursday's Mail, and I guess I'm going to have to delete a lot of Mia Khalifa photos from my phone pool.
Well, that's up to you, Josh. Possessing photos of a Muslim woman without a hijab should be made a criminal offence, MPs say. So the Commons Women's and Equalities Committee said the pictures of Muslim women without the headscarf taken without consent should be considered non-consensual intimate images. Now, if they've committed a crime, then they enter into the justice system and they need to be treated, this is my opinion, by the way, need to be treated fairly. I mean, a burglar can't commit a crime in a balaclava and say you can't photograph me without the balaclava on.
Religious reasons. Well, we've already had this story a few weeks ago where they put out a separate photo of a woman without her hijab.
I appreciate this is a cultural issue that is relatively new to our justice system, OK? I understand that this is a difficult matter, but I'm afraid my personal opinion is once you enter into the criminal system within our country, you're treated...
But that's not what we're talking about here, though. We're talking about someone illegally obtaining, or illegally, without consent, obtaining photos of somebody in a way that they don't wish to be.
So this would be... OK, so this would be someone who was... At what point would that be... How could that possibly happen outside of the criminal system, though? Unless you were in their private home.
It's like saying how... OK, taking the conversation, bringing in Kerry, the way that it would go in, right, is because they're tagging this on to people taking photos of people sexually compromised, whether they're sort of snooping,
revenge pictures,
revenge,
blackmail pictures.
So if they're putting out, say you've got a girlfriend and she's a religious Muslim, and you take a photo of her in an intimate way, and then later on you release that photo, and we're just talking without her hair, that's what they're talking about being made.
I'd agree with Paul, though, in the sense that this is a massive cultural shift. We never would have considered just a few years ago blackmail could be a picture of a woman without a headscarf on, but so that's where we're at right now.
But I wonder, there are Jewish women who you know, wear Orthodox...
Yes, but then they've never brought it up as a reason to change the law until now. So this is a change. And they're saying it's planned, it comes after a planned definition of Islamophobia. Islamophobia.
You just said Islamophobia.
I probably was being championed.
If you say Islamophobia, that's
Islamophobia. Being championed by Angela Rayner, who of course is desperate trying to get re-elected with the Muslim vote in her area and trying everything. And she was slammed for risking a blasphemy law by the back door, which you really don't want blasphemy in your back door, but that looks like that's coming too. And so yeah, do you know what?
Greasing the passage.
Yes, exactly. Is where it's going. The interesting thing about this is that the idea of these non-consensual images is where the law's going with it is to treat them the same as child sexual abuse material, as it says here. And it's very odd then to take that to the level of someone without a headscarf, that picture should be treated the same as a child sexual abuse picture. So I find I'm a bit uncomfortable. I do realise that there is a cultural thing here where pictures like that could be used to blackmail someone within their community.
If they haven't washed their hair.
Yeah, exactly, that sort of thing. I don't know. I don't feel on it. I don't.
When you make exceptions for certain things, it ends up flowing through and causing all sorts of problems.
Yeah, Independent next, Kerry. And does this mean they're also going to be renaming non-binary dead naming roundabout?
Yes, it does. Exactly that, Josh. Mayor signals DC will rename Black Lives Matter Plaza after GOP lawmaker threatens federal funding, which is quite a mouthful title there. I'm going to put it my own way. Do Black Lives Matter murals matter?
Oh, yeah.
That would be the headline, wouldn't it?
You should work for them.
I know, they don't realise what they're missing out on. So this is the mural of Black Lives Matter that went up during the Black Lives Matter.
It's the plaza. They called it the plaza. They called it the Black Lives Matter Plaza.
Totally. But just to recap for anyone who doesn't know about the Black Lives Matter, that was a time when black people started taking the knee, and then white people started taking the knee, and they took the knee against authorities, against the powers that be, and then the powers that be started taking the knee against themselves, and then you ended up with Keir Starmer and others in England taking the knee against
and for arthritic people, it was very prejudiced.
Very, very unfair indeed, yeah. So she's the mayor who, she was criticised by Trump because he had to walk past this thing and didn't like it at all. And now it's coming down. And instead what's going to happen is, I believe locals are going to be able to put up their own pictures and murals there instead, which will probably be Black Lives Matter murals once they're given the choice to do it.
Isn't she? They've said to her, we're going to keep back $1.5 billion dollars, otherwise, unless you change it back. There is definitely an angle you could take on this story, and of course that is exactly what is happening. However, I feel like the people that were most invested in Black Lives Matter are starting to distance themselves from the cause.
You mean white people?
No, I think black people, and I talk about the black person here sort of saying...
I would say white people were very invested.
Well, they were, yeah. But in this particular case, the black woman involved is saying that we can no longer afford to be distracted by meaningless congressional interference. So she kind of wants to move on to what the problems of the day are now, dissing herself from black...
You mean the mayor?
Yeah.
But isn't that because Trump stopped funding her? He's basically Ukrained her, hasn't he? He's saying he's not going to allow her weapons or give her any intelligence or anything.
I guess the argument is, has it served its purpose now?
Yeah, but I imagine when
some would say not.
They weren't imagining it was just going to be for 2 or 3 years or whatever. You're right. It's a positive step in that she's recognising where the money and the focus of should be going to actually make change within Washington, as opposed to just sort of renaming something and having a mural. Let's put the money into education and deal with the system, the inequality in that way. But at the same time, it also proves sort of, or indicates how empty so much of this stuff was.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no, it bought some nice, I think, 3 houses for the leaders of the Black Lives Matter in LA, so, you know, they did right out of it.
Paul, and a teacher wins some money for being a decent person.
Looks like it, doesn't it? Private school teacher sacked after letting pupils take off face masks wins £8,000. This was the teacher was Henry Howlett. He was working at Michael Hall School, which is a fee-paying school, 17 grand a year, decent school, Forest Row. This was in December 2020, by the way, and the tribunal has upheld his claims of hearing that the school was an unsuitable environment. So the backstory of this is, I think he was teaching some sort of performance arts, and he was saying that if you felt anxious, this is this message to the children, if you felt anxious, you could remove your mask, and some children removed their masks so that they could perform or feel comfortable in the environment they're in. And he was sacked for this. The school itself seems to have been, and this is quotes from the tribunal, not my opinion, but has branded the head teacher as kind of an authoritarian leader who had run the school into the ground, and this was entirely improper.
My interpretation of the story would be more, Kerry, that it seems like they suspended him and then fired him for a pattern of apathy towards safeguarding, but really they wanted to save some money because they had financial concerns.
Yeah, I mean, you read through the story and there's it's a long tell about going on a school trip, and there were mixed messages and should he have really been going on the trip and so on, and then there was a play they put on and where he told the kids they didn't have to wear masks, and then others didn't wear a mask either, and they're blamed for that. And you're right, it goes through all of this. It's pretty tedious, really, until it comes down to, the fact is that they wanted to save money, and that was all a good excuse.
Talk about the story was because it's just a reminder again of what students were put through and were having to wear that mask for a year or two. I think it was disgusting.
Also, part of it here is about a play they put on. I don't know if you've seen a play with people wearing masks. You may as well have people off stage doing the voices while someone just comes on stage and stands there. And I did do a show.
I was trying to put shows on at that time.
Yeah.
And the way they had to be spaced out and how they had to wear masks, totally ridiculous. And Josh, you're right to put this story in the sense that it reminds us this stuff's 5 years old now. How ridiculous that was.
Yeah.
We've all parked this stuff and
did you ever see the picture of the orchestra? There's an orchestra where they're playing wind instruments and they've got the holes cut out around the middle of their mask. It was one of the funniest things.
Anyway, Kerry, Guardian now, and who's sad that segregation is over?
We're going backwards. The Black Students' Union forced to close on US campuses. So this is all about these Trump stopping DEI, and basically, I'll read a piece here. Black student unions at US colleges are fighting to stay operational as state laws targeting their initiatives threaten their existence. It doesn't threaten their existence, by the way. What it's doing is simply stopping money going into...
Takes away sponsorship?
Yeah.
Registered and said, just like every other...
It's about hiring. It's about hiring and so on. It's not saying that black people cannot meet, but it was getting ridiculous a little while ago, where we were seeing basically segregation going on in universities. It felt like we'd gone back many decades, but black people are still. Anyone is still allowed to meet in university. In fact, I don't think this is just a typical Guardian article trying to hold on to something that's vanishing out. It is big, yeah.
Age of the stuff, and it's $11,000, which I know is not. What's that? $8,000, something like that.
That's one particular.
This one particular one that they're creating so much fuss over, and of course they're trying to find ways of saving public money rather than attack the groups themselves. Yeah. I mean, of course we know Trump's driving this, but it's worth bearing in mind that there's a lot of waste. And they're trying to prevent waste, and it doesn't stop anything from happening.
For me, it's not the waste issue; it's the racism issue. It's why is this one group getting funding which no other group is getting? And it's also the way this is presented is, as it says, we're going backwards. It's like, no, unfortunately, we've been going backwards for the last sort of 10, 15 years. Now, hopefully, we can maintain momentum now in terms of fairness and equality. There are other groups. There are different societies, for a Greek society and an Italian group and all these other groups. But the point is, they're not getting money, or a Chinese society, they're not getting money from the government or from the rest of the pot. They have to...
No, you can still go to all these different meetings. You can go to the Jewish conspircy meeting if you want to. That's regularly, every Friday.
Oh, that was my favourite day.
But yes, you're moving on, I can feel it.
Yeah, just one more section. I just didn't want you to let people know about the Jewish... Kerry, the first rule of Jewish secret societies, you do not talk about...
Salmon is in the bagel.
Yeah. Just one more section to go, but don't go anywhere. Can you grow a baby in a bag? And why have schools mirrors? This is Headliners, only on GB News.
Well done.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst high pressure in the south of the UK brings sunshine, it will turn increasingly unsettled for Iberia, although mostly fine for Italy and for much of Greece, albeit with a keen breeze through the Greek islands into Thursday. There'll also be a freshening breeze through Sicily and some outbreaks of rain turning up here. But the most unsettled weather will be Iberia, particularly Portugal, through the rest of the week and into the weekend. Some heavy downpours, thunderstorms and strengthening winds.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It stays clear in the south overnight, but with an increased southerly breeze there'll be less frost and fog around, and it will also turn less wet and windy across northern parts of the UK. We've got a transition period with our weather systems. It's been unsettled in the far north and it continues to stay that way across the north of Scotland, some parts of southwest Scotland and Northern Ireland overnight. Wet and windy weather continuing, but it does eventually turn drier from the south as southerly winds begin to turn up. Now, that increased southerly wind will prevent widespread frost and fog in the south, so a little less chilly first thing. in parts of England and Wales, and most places will enjoy sunny skies during the morning. In fact, brighter skies are expected across central and southern Scotland with more cloud breaks about, but it continues to be wet and breezy in the far north of Scotland. Northern Ireland, a lot of cloud, but again here, something a little brighter is starting to emerge. For much of England and Wales, it's clear blue skies, but the first signs of a change on the way there for southwest England with a build of medium-level cloud. And through the morning into the afternoon, whilst we keep the sunny skies across the Midlands, eastern England, eastern Scotland, we'll see thickening cloud further west. And by the end of the afternoon, some showery rain into parts of Wales. Meanwhile, the rain pulls away from the north of Scotland, drier and brighter here and feeling warmer everywhere, temperatures reaching 16 to 17 or even 18 Celsius in the east. Now, the showers that I mentioned in the west by the end of Thursday move across much of England and Wales, parts of southeast Scotland on Friday, so a cloudier picture, more showers around, but also some breaks, some drier spells, and that marks a change into the weekend. It's going to turn drier in the north, but more showery further south, whilst it's warmer everywhere.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, Thursday's Times. We'll start us off, Kerry, and hopefully it's just the vertical mirrors that are being banned.
Oh, there goes that story. School bans mirrors in toilets as pupils are spending too long looking at themselves. So this is school Grant Edgar, who's the headmaster at William Farr Church of England Comprehensive School.
That's the details that people really want to know.
I know, but he should ban the name of the school. It takes too long. We haven't got much time for this. Anyway, so they're banning mirrors, this has been reported in the Mirror, so I think they're reporting it because they're kind of taking that personally. And this is no doubt going to be in The Guardian at some point as an article about discrimination against narcissists. So they found that the kids are spending too long in the bathrooms looking at mirror, and the head teacher has actually worked out they're totally spending 6.4 days worth of learning. Who sits there and works out how much collective time people spend looking in the mirrors?
And they don't specify if it's the boys or the girls. And I've got a bunch of boys, and they are spending so much time doing this. There's a stupid haircut at the moment, which is like this thing here, and it takes them about 20 minutes to get this thing on the front of their head sorted.
Right, but the main reason they gather in toilets is the same reason they always have, is because there's no cameras in there. That's why the toilets are always popular.
Well, they're saying that I like the mum who complained and said, "This is terrible. My daughter can't even see if her fake eyelashes have come off."
Why the school child?
School with fake eyelashes on.
I mean, it's not the mirrors' fault, is it? They're banning the mirrors. Yeah. The mirrors haven't done a single thing wrong. They've probably been there for 30 years.
Leave the mirrors alone.
Just, you know, leave the mirrors in there. Stop the kids going in. In my daughter's school, they lock the toilet doors.
This is good news. This is good news. Good news for vampires.
Oh yes, thank you. Times, Paul, and Gen Z really don't like sex, do they?
No, don't really, do they? Grow a baby in a bag, question mark. Gen Z backs the use of artificial wombs. So this is 18 to 24s who said that 42% are in favour of this. So this is the ever-incessant desire of scientists to play God a little bit here, Josh, as well. It's not just Gen Zs. They're basically, you know, trying to see if they can grow babies outside the body. And Gen Zs are all for it.
We've got a good excuse here because it's premature babies. So
I mean, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater here, Josh. But yeah, it could help a lot of families who can't have children. The reason Gen Z don't want it is because they're lazy and it messes up their foo-foo.
Their foo-foo.
Good night.
Wow, that was quite a statement. Yeah, of course, we saw it before with test tube babies, which, of course, was quite a thing when I was growing up, and then they'd grow up and they'd see a test tube like, "Mummy," you know, it was kind of awkward. Yeah, it's all very sci-fi, and but the thing is, this study shows that young people aren't that resistant to the idea, but then it kind of switches on itself and says it's also because they haven't got babies, so maybe it's just they don't feel that bothered by it just
18
yet.
to 24, they probably should wait.
Now, Kerry, you know, because you mentioned and you spent all that time mentioning the guy's name at the school and really going into the details, which we didn't. You know what I've got to do? I've got to read out a response because of that.
Really?
Because of you. You're making this audience read out the response.
What response?
Here we go. A spokesperson for the school said, last week we made the decision to remove the mirrors from all the student toilet facilities across the campus to speed up lessons that all people feel comfortable when using the facilities.
Okay.
So, yeah, next time, just keep your...
It's in the story, Josh. I'm sorry, I'm a professional.
Yes, exactly. OK, let's go to the papers. Right, we have the Mail first. Let's go to the Mail. New two-tier justice fiasco. The Guardian, US stops sharing intelligence with Kyiv to pile pressure on Zelensky. Telegraph, Trump turns off Ukraine missiles. The Eye, benefit cuts set to be bigger than Reeves promised as Treasury rules out new tax hikes. And the Mirror, Wills in tribute to NHS heroes as he honours their sacrifice. And the Star, warning, orange ball of fire spotted in the sky, stay indoors, say weather buffs, or risk getting a tan. That's exciting, isn't it, that we're going to be getting some sun?
Yes, I'm really looking...
Do you remember sun?
We've had sun for the last couple of days.
Yeah, I'm looking forward, and this has been my first time having it, like, being bald and everything.
Oh, yeah.
So this is very...
You're going to have to get
It's all about you, Josh.
Of course it is, yeah. Right, that's it for tonight's show. Thank you to my guests, Kerry and Paul. I'm going to be back tomorrow night at 11 p.m. with Simon Evans, Cresta Wetton, and if you're watching the 5 a.m. repeat, then stay tuned for breakfast and have a lovely day.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It stays clear in the south overnight, but with an increased southerly breeze, there'll be less frost and fog around. And it will also turn less wet and windy across northern parts of the UK. We've got a transition period with our weather systems. It's been unsettled in the far north, and it continues to stay that way across the north of Scotland, some parts of southwest Scotland and Northern Ireland overnight. Wet and windy weather continuing, but it does eventually turn drier from the south as southerly winds begin to turn up. Now, that increased southerly wind will prevent widespread frost and fog in the south, so a little less chilly first thing in parts of England and Wales, and most places will enjoy sunny skies during the morning. In fact, brighter skies are expected across central and southern Scotland with more cloud breaks about, but it continues to be wet and breezy in the far north of Scotland. Northern Ireland, a lot of cloud, but again here, something a little brighter is starting to emerge. For much of England and Wales, it's clear blue skies, but the first signs of a change on the way there for southwest England with a build of medium-level cloud. And through the morning into the afternoon, whilst we keep the sunny skies across the Midlands, eastern England, eastern Scotland, we'll see thickening cloud further west. And by the end of the afternoon, some showery rain into parts of Wales. Meanwhile, the rain pulls away from the north of Scotland, drier and brighter here and feeling warmer everywhere, temperatures reaching 16 to 17 or even 18 Celsius in the east. Now, the showers that I mentioned in the west by the end of Thursday move across much of England and Wales, parts of southeast Scotland on Friday, so a cloudier picture, more showers around, but also some breaks, some drier spells, and that marks a change into the weekend. It's going to turn drier in the north, but more showery further south, whilst it's warmer everywhere.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could be one of 2 big winners in our latest giveaway, as we have 2 prize bundles that have to be won. There's 2 lots of a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash. You'll also receive a brand new iPhone 16, along with £500 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite store. Hurry, lines close on the 7th of March. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here with an exclusive opportunity just for you, our incredible GB News viewers. We're giving you the opportunity to win a VIP studio tour right here at GB News HQ. Plus, you'll also get to meet yours truly. It's easy to enter. Just head to gbnews.com/community competition and follow the easy steps. Don't miss out. Enter now, and I'll see you soon at GB News. Full T's and C's apply.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good evening. Donald Trump addresses Congress. I ask the question, is he off to a great start? Ukraine, it feels like we're making progress, but do the Ukrainians feel they are being bullied? At last, we're discussing the true, horrendous cost of net zero. And I almost can't believe it, but a Ramadan service took place yesterday in St George's Chapel, Windsor. Surely that can't be true. You'll find out in a moment. First, let's get the news with Sam Francis.
Nigel, thank you very much, and good evening to you. The top story tonight. Well, the Justice Secretary is calling for new sentencing guidelines to be reversed tonight, warning it risks two-tier justice. From April, judges will be advised to consider a defendant's ethnicity, culture or faith when deciding punishment, along with factors like age and pregnancy. Labour's Shabana Mahmood insists there will be no differential treatment before the law and says she's writing to the Sentencing Council to push for a reversal. Campaigners, meanwhile, have welcomed guidance urging courts to avoid jailing pregnant women. The Sentencing Council says tailored sentences do reduce reoffending and ensure fairness. Let's just bring you an update on a situation in Cumbria where a child has reportedly died after being hit by a car tonight on a sports pitch there. Emergency crews reportedly rushed to Kendal Rugby Club just before 5 o'clock, around 2 hours ago, where 2 children were sadly struck by a BMW. One child, we understand, didn't survive, another being treated by paramedics. We're also hearing that a man in his 40s has been arrested on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving. Police say, though, at this stage they believe that it is an isolated incident with no links to terrorism. Any more developments we will bring to you. In other news tonight, the US has suspended intelligence sharing with Ukraine, adding to an existing pause in military support, in a move supported by Trump's national security advisor and the head of the CIA. But the freeze could end. Mike Waltz says President Trump may restore military aid if Ukraine and Russia agree to peace talks. Speaking to Fox News, Waltz said Trump would take a hard look at lifting the pause if negotiations move forward. And Donald Trump himself says he has received an important letter from Zelensky suggesting Ukraine is ready to negotiate as soon as possible. While addressing Congress last night, he claimed there are now strong signals Russia is also ready for peace. A woman has told a court she could have been abused by more than 200 men in Rochdale, but says there was that many it was hard to keep count. The complainant, known as Girl A, says she was targeted from the age of 13, with her number passed between abusers. 8 men, former market traders and taxi drivers, are accused of preying on her and another girl, allegedly plying them with drugs and alcohol. Jurors heard Girl A first spoke to police in 2015. Blaming herself at the time, but now realising she says she was just a kid who knew no different. The men deny all charges, including rape and indecent assault, and the trial continues this week. Police are launching an international appeal to trace more potential victims of serial rapist Zhenhao Zhao, one of the UK's most prolific predators. The Chinese PhD student has been convicted of attacking 10 women, but officers fear he may have drugged and assaulted more than 50 others in both the UK and in China. He targeted young Chinese women, luring them to his flat for drinks or study before drugging them. Zhao filmed the attacks and kept footage and sometimes his victims' belongings. And there you can see that is the suspect there on your screen. Well, billions in spending cuts, including to welfare, are expected in the Chancellor's spring statement later this month. The Treasury is submitting plans to the government's official forecaster today as concerns grow that Rachel Reeves' financial buffer has disappeared. Sources say the world has changed since October's budget, when the OBR suggested she has nearly £10 billion to spend. Those are the latest headlines for now. Another roundup from me in around an hour's time. Now, though, let's get straight back to Nigel.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
A big speech by Donald Trump to Congress last night. Not the official State of the Union speech, but kind of pretty much the same thing. It all took place in the early hours of this morning, UK time. And boy, he's won, but he can't help but tease the Democrats. Have a look at this.
I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements.
Well, that was Donald Trump very modestly talking about some of his achievements in the first 43 days. They didn't stay silent, and in fact it was very noisy throughout a speech that lasted just over 90 minutes, the longest speech in modern times to Congress. In fact, one of the Democrats actually got kicked out of the chamber. But what was really interesting, the thing that surprised me more than anything, was the network CBS, not known to be Trump lovers in any way at all. And they published this poll shortly after the debate. 76% of people in the CBS poll approved of what the president said, with 23% disapproval. And I don't know exactly what sample CBS used, but the fact is they put it up. They're a mainstream broadcaster, and that is a pretty remarkable result. The single most popular part of what Trump had to say in that speech was when he talked about what Elon Musk was uncovering in terms of where public money is being spent. And that went down an absolute storm with the Republicans, and I think with the viewers as well. And perhaps that's why that poll was just as strong as it was. Now, not everything is a bed of roses. Tariffs have meant some big falls in the stock markets. The Ukraine deal isn't yet finally done. But let me ask you at home, is Trump off to a great start? Let me know Tweet #Farage on GB News or email farage@gbnews.com. I'm joined in the studio by spokeswoman for Republicans overseas, Jennifer Ewing. I'm also joined here in the studio by Kwasi Kwarteng, former Conservative Chancellor, and Lloyd Russell-Moyle, regular on this show and former Labour MP. Now, Jennifer, I think you're one of those people that did stay up through the night.
Can you tell?
Well, I mean, given that you're Republicans overseas, you probably had to.
Yeah,
right?
well, yeah.
What did you make of it all?
I thought it was full of everything, and it was actually full. It was basically a carbon copy of what his presidency has been so far. I mean, it was a lot of activity. It was a mix of humor. It was a mix of content. It was a mix of sort of pointing out a lot of wonderful things about our country. It was incredibly hopeful. I think one of the most disappointing things was just the lack of, a lot of the issues he talked about were domestic, for sure. It was primarily a domestic speech, and it was these 80-20 issues, right? Immigration now, even for Democrats, is an 80-20 issue, right? And some of these other issues, the same thing, and yet when it came time for applause for, whether it be the teenage boy who survived brain cancer and was going to get a shot at the Secret Service, or a young woman who had been killed and a park is named after her, I mean, people were not standing up on the Democrat side, and that was strange. I think it was very bad. It just wasn't pragmatic on their side.
I went to a State of the Union, I think the last one he gave as president, and he turned it into a TV show.
Yeah.
He said, up in the gallery, the so-and-so, you haven't seen your husband for 2 years, but hey, here he is, and the door opens at the back. And he turns it all into an incredible TV spectacle. On the serious points, I mean, Greenland, we're going to get it one way or the other. Some of this stuff is quite aggressive, Jennifer.
I mean, look, I think we've discussed so many times before, there's what Trump says, and there's what he does. And we can look at, even in the last 40 days or however long it's been, it seems like it's been a lot longer, he puts things out there, and then if it looks like it's going to fail, he pulls back, especially when it comes to the economy, right? He is not going to allow a bad economy to drag this down.
Well, you say that, but I mentioned in my talk here, tariffs coming in. Now, I do remember shades of this in 2017, to be fair, but the stock market down several hundred points, all the gains since the election wiped out, fears that inflation could rise as a result of tariffs. It's not all plain sailing, is it?
Well, it's not, but I mean, I guess if you look, and you worked in the city, I worked in the city, like, the stock market is overheated. You look at where these price, PE ratios are supposed to be, and especially the big tech stocks, they're through the roof. So it was going to cool off anyway. This was going to happen. There's Wall Street, there's Main Street. Yes, everybody has money in their 401ks, as we like to